And we will go live in 3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome everybody to the Ezira Hangout number 8 with your host Harrison McLean coming to you live from Hong Kong. So without further ado, we'll get into this week's Hangout agenda. And we'll start off with the burning question on everyone who's new here's lips, and that is, what is Ezira? So what is Ezira? Ezira is a protocol for blockchain social media with a decentralized exchange and a peer-to-peer marketplace. Users can make posts on boards, groups, or profiles and encrypt them to make them private. Businesses can make crypto assets to represent voting power and to distribute revenue. Merchants can list products for sale and receive free and virtually instant payments from customers. Users can earn rewards when they post valuable content, earn tips, and can charge micropayments to access premium content. Supernodes earn rewards for providing file storage through IPFS. The Ezira protocol earns revenue for all of its asset holders by selling account memberships, post-promotion, and charging trading fees. Every Ezira interface can choose which content to display and how to sort it. The protocol itself has no censorship. Users can choose which identity to use for posting, whether it be their full profile, a persona account, or with no identity at all using anonymous posting. Ezira users and applications that create accounts for new users earn an ongoing share of the revenue from those users. That means that when the Ezira mainnet goes live, everyone who registers an account on behalf of another person, whether it be a user or an interface, that user is able to earn a percentage of the new account's ongoing revenue in the form of memberships and fees paid to the blockchain. So it allows there to be a scalable long-term solution to bringing new people onto the network through new applications, and for people to refer new users to grow the network in its early and medium stages. So this week we'll go on to the project updates, and this week we have the Ezira whitepaper changes. So this has not been released yet, but work this week is focused on making modifications to the whitepaper. Changes are not yet finalized, but will include the Ezira reward, the share drop mechanism and proportions, the Ezira Community Enterprise Fund, the Ezira credit issuance mechanism, membership benefit improvements, and promoted post selection. And we'll get on to the details of that very shortly. Next up this week is the CoinGeek conference. So I have been at the CoinGeek conference in Hong Kong for the past few days. At this conference there have been major announcements for the Bitcoin Cash community, and the project networking was improved. This conference was very valuable to the Ezira project and allowed me to network with the Bitcoin Cash community, which is one of the shining examples of a positive build first, hold later cryptocurrency community. And they really put on a show that has never really been seen before in cryptocurrency in the level of production quality. And it's a shining beacon, in my opinion, for cryptocurrency as a whole. The Telegram channel this week. The bounties for Telegram invites were suspended last week when the Ezira channel reached over 10,000 members. And that has been stopped to focus on a new way of rewarding people in our Ezira Telegram group. So starting this week and after this hangout, a new Telegram bounty program will begin. So the new Telegram bounty program is, in 50 words or less, describe your favorite application idea for the Ezira protocol. Each day, that is, every 24 hours at the end of each day, the best answer will be chosen by myself, and that person, when they leave their BitShares address, will earn 20 Ezira. So that's 20 Ezira to the person who best answers the question or describes their favorite application on the Ezira blockchain. So ideas can be new ideas, or they could be already discussed in the white paper or past Hangouts. So in every Hangout, we have had a featured application which describes something that could be done with the Ezira protocol once it is released onto the mainnet. And those have been the featured applications. So in 50 words or less, anyone in the Ezira Telegram group that describes their favorite application and why will be in the running to earn 20 Ezira. And moving on to the next part of this week's Hangout, and that is going to be the Ezira video and discussion. The Ezira video and discussion. So for those of you who have not yet seen the Ezira video, we will be showing the Ezira video to everyone on the live stream. So the Ezira video is called Ezira Build the Next World.
Drifting through a memory. Wake up in your crystal sky. Floating till we
And for those of you who haven't seen that yet, that is Ezira Build the Next World, the latest iteration of the Ezira Explainer video. So we'll be moving on to the discussion about the Ezira video. So for those of you who have seen the Ezira video, what do you think of it? Do you like the way that it describes the network's features in a really simple, approachable way? Does anyone have any comments, feedback about the Ezira video? For those of you who have seen it before. No, not today. Okay, I guess we'll move on to the next part, and that is the Ezira discussion topics. Alright, we have one comment from D156, and he says, has Ezira launch? So the answer to D156 is not yet. The Ezira project is in the preliminary ICO phase. So currently we are establishing the team and establishing the project funding, and the Ezira network or protocol has not yet launched. And we have Jotmax, who has said that the video is superb and that he loves the soundtrack. Thank you, Jotmax. I also love the soundtrack. The soundtrack is what inspired me to make the video. It's a fantastic soundtrack. It's called Starlight. Starlight by, if I recall correctly, Jai Wolf. Fantastic track. Hands off to Jai Wolf for making such an inspiring track. And we'll move on to the Ezira discussion topics. So this week's Ezira discussion topics. First up, we have the Ezira share drop restructuring. So the Ezira share drop will be restructured in the following way. So what was previously done is we were originally going to have a share drop that incorporated the unspent transaction output set of Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, Litecoin, EOS, BitShares, Steam, Dash, and Monero. And EOS. Did I say EOS? I think I may have said EOS. So 10 different cryptocurrencies in total. We're going to have their unspent transaction outputs included in the Genesis block of the Ezira blockchain. So that is not quite technically feasible within the scope of the project design, and it would make for a significantly large initial Genesis block, which would be difficult to process. It also presents a effectively wide scattering of Ezira in such a way that the majority of those addresses, particularly on the more popular chains, a lot of those addresses are well and truly unattended. A lot of the private keys have been lost, and it would represent a significant waste of Ezira to be distributing to every single address on those chains. What it also doesn't do is it doesn't encourage the liquidity of the Ezira gateway assets on the decentralized exchange. And it also provides a big one-time lump sum payment to a lot of people who don't understand the Ezira project yet. And what that would in effect cause on launch would be a large sell-off of Ezira, which is obviously not ideal for anyone holding Ezira. So what we're doing instead is we will be distributing the allocation for Steam and BitShares, those two blockchains that run on Graphene. They will be included in the Genesis block because their account set is not quite as large as Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash in particular, and Ethereum as well. So we'll be including the all accounts that hold above $1 worth of BitShares and Steam into the Ezira Genesis block. So we'll basically take the account set that exists now, append it with either BTS, BitShares, hyphen, and then add in those accounts in the same way that Peer Players did. And we will do the same thing for Steam, whereby every account on Steam is added into the Ezira blockchain, prepended with STM for Steam short, and then a hyphen after the account name. So everyone holding a Steam account and a BitShares account, or both, will receive an account in the Ezira Genesis block. However, the allocations to Bitcoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin Cash, and all of the other coins, they will be distributed over a longer period of time. So what people will be able to do is go onto their Ezira account and register the addresses of the cryptocurrencies that they hold on those other chains. Once they've registered those addresses, a share of about 2% of the total share drop balance for each coin per week will be distributed between all of the registered accounts and across all of the depositors to the Ezira gateway assets on the decentralized exchange. They will receive effectively a share in 2% of the share drop per week, which means a lot of different things. It means that the share drop will not be distributed to people in a large lump sum, which will mitigate a sell-off event at the start of the network. It will also encourage people on other chains to register their addresses sooner rather than later so that they get a proportionally larger allocation in the share drop. So the earlier people register their address, the more distributions that they will receive. And the share drop allocations at the start will be larger because there will be less people that have registered their account. So there'll be a heavier incentive to register your account early and to make an account early. It also mitigates the need to include a massive Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash unspent transaction output set in the Genesis block of the Ezira blockchain, which will make it significantly easier to launch the Genesis block of the network. So those will be the changes that happen to the Ezira share drop. They are significant, but it is, in the opinion of the Ezira team, that everyone is better off under this restructuring because it mitigates the need to distribute Ezira to dead addresses. It mitigates the need to distribute Ezira to dust addresses that hold a very small amount of cryptocurrency, which is actually quite a large number of the addresses. So it'll distribute it to active users on those chains instead of every single unspent transaction output on those chains. So moving on to the next discussion topic this week is the Ezira reward changes. So in the white paper at the moment, the Ezira reward is described as a share in the Ezira coin issuance equal to 20% of the total issuance divided between all Ezira holders. And that proportion is remaining exactly identical. However, in order to ensure that Ezira is... Can we pop it on press to talk, please? We'll just pop that one off there. Thank you. So the Ezira reward changes will ensure that the Ezira asset is not considered a security in any legal jurisdiction. So the Howey test stipulates that a security is an instrument that makes a promise of financial reward from the actions of third parties only. And what we will be doing to the Ezira asset is stipulating that in order to claim an account's Ezira reward, that account is required to have at least claimed one activity reward in the preceding 30 days. In addition, that account needs to vote for at least 10 different witnesses. And there are many ways that an account can actually double its allocation of the Ezira reward by doing essentially half of a list of different activity requirements. So in order to claim the Ezira reward, an account will have to contribute to the network by voting and by being active at least once every 30 days. So that ensures that the Ezira reward is not a security because it requires effort on the part of the holder of the Ezira asset. The proportions will be unchanged, and this will benefit every active Ezira user because they'll be receiving a much larger relative portion of the Ezira reward because of the Ezira account holders that do not satisfy the activity requirement. So the Ezira reward will be requiring that the account is active at least once every 30 days, which ensures that the financial return is from actions that are resulting from the user's own work. So there is a requirement for the user to actually be active on their account and contribute to the Ezira network in order to receive their Ezira reward. The utility of getting on to the next topic, the Ezira reward for supernode hosting and for a large number of other Ezira coin issuance functions. The amount can now be doubled for those accounts that hold more than 10 Ezira. So in order to claim double the reward share on Ezira supernode rewards, An account simply needs to hold 10 Ezira and they will receive a double relative allocation. So that will provide a greater incentive for any Ezira account to hold at least 10 Ezira to double their relative reward in the majority of the reward share mechanisms from Ezira coin issuance. The last topic for today is the reduction in the voting power ramp up and the power down time. So initially in the white paper, this was going to be 10 weeks. So this will be reduced to 4 weeks so that Ezira power holders are able to power down their Ezira power in 4 weeks rather than 10 weeks. And Ezira holders will receive the full voting power from holding their Ezira after 4 weeks instead of 10 weeks. So Ezira is going to present two options for holding voting power. Can we get that mic on push to talk, please? There we go. Okay, so anyway, where were we? We were saying that the Ezira reward was or the Ezira voting power rather was being ramped up over 4 weeks rather than 10 weeks. This is due to the requirement that in order to earn the Ezira reward, an account must hold its Ezira for a minimum of 4 weeks. So Ezira rewards start kicking in after the Ezira is fully powered after 4 weeks instead of 10 weeks. So that's a shorter time to access the full voting power of Ezira, and once it has been held for more than 4 weeks, it has access to the full amount of voting power, and it can access the Ezira reward. So this benefits every active Ezira user, and it ensures that the Ezira crypto equity is not in any way, shape, or form legally considered a security. So at this point, I think we might have some questions. Does anyone have any questions about the things that we just talked about? The upcoming changes to the Ezira white paper surrounding the change of the Ezira reward mechanism, the Ezira share drop, and the requirement to, or the ability to hold 10 Ezira and receive a double allocation of supernode rewards. Does anyone have any questions or comments about those? And Jotmax asks, will users be able to delegate Ezira power? Jotmax, yes they will. Ezira users will be able to delegate their Ezira power, and they will also be able to delegate their Ezira voting power. So yes, delegation will be possible. What won't be delegated, however, is the curation reward and the Ezira holding reward, or the Ezira reward for short. That will be received by the owner of the account. Only the voting power will be delegated. And that voting power will only be able to be used for voting on content rewards. That will not be able to be used for voting on witnesses or any of the Ezira reward pool holders.
Yeah, Orange, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Semest.
Yeah, I want to ask you, Ezira has its own wallet per se where you can store your Ezira token into. Do you get the question?
Do you get what, sorry?
I said, do you get the question that I asked?
So did you ask where is the wallet where we store our Ezira? Is that right?
What I mean is, the question I'm asking is, will Ezira is going to have his own wallet?
Yes.
privately, like okay,
Yeah, Ezira
okay.
will have its own
So where
wallet.
you
It'll
can
be on its own blockchain. So at
all
the
right.
moment,
So
the Ezira asset that you and a lot of others hold is on the on the BitShares blockchain rather, and that will be transferred onto the Ezira mainnet blockchain when it is launched. So that will have a
oh
separate
okay,
Ezira
okay.
wallet to store that. That's right.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
Very good. Does anyone have any other questions, or do we want to go on to the next segment for today? Okay, so Jotmax asks, will Ezira on BitShares be valid after the launch of the mainnet? And the answer to that question is, so the current Ezira asset will be, at the time of the mainnet launch, that'll be frozen so that the balances in each BitShares account can be allocated onto their respective Ezira blockchain accounts. Then after that, what will happen is the Ezira asset will be restructured such that the asset will be reissued in order to act as a gateway asset between BitShares and the Ezira blockchain. So one Ezira on the BitShares blockchain after the launch will represent one Ezira on the mainnet blockchain that is on deposit as Ezira.BitShares. No, as one Ezira unit with the Ezira gateway asset will be represented on BitShares. So it will become a gateway asset after the mainnet is launched. The current asset will be frozen, and its balances after that point will be switched. Gateway asset, that's right. So it'll represent one Ezira on the BitShares blockchain. And it'll be able to be traded on the BitShares blockchain for all of the other BitShares assets as it's equal to one Ezira on deposit with the Ezira main account. So it'll act just like open.steam essentially. You'll have one Steam on deposit with whoever it is. OpenLedger at the moment is one open.steam. One Ezira will be one Ezira on the Ezira blockchain on deposit with the Ezira main account, represented and withdrawn and deposited on the BitShares account, on the BitShares blockchain rather. Okay, so does anyone have any other questions? Okay, I guess not. So we'll move on to the next section, which is the Ezira crowdfunding guide. So the Ezira crowdfunding guide can be found on ezira.io. So to contribute to the Ezira crowdfunding campaign or the preliminary ICO, at the moment all you'll need to do is create a BitShares account, and there is a link to do so on ezira.io. And from there, people have the opportunity to press any of these buttons here to send you to the Ezira trading page on BitShares. So over on BitShares, you can access the exchange page between Ezira and BitUSD. So we'll just wait for that to load. And anybody can access the Ezira trading page, like so. So currently there is 103 days remaining in the preliminary ICO, and approximately 826,000 Ezira have been are still remaining for sale, and those are currently selling at 1 BitUSD per Ezira. So you can contribute today to receive your early stake in Ezira, and to do that all you need to do is create a BitShares account. on either OpenLedger or BitShares wallet or wallet.bitshares.org. From there, deposit your desired cryptocurrency into your BitShares exchange account. You can then sell that cryptocurrency for BitUSD and use that to purchase Ezira on the trading pair between Ezira and BitUSD. Alternatively, you can buy BitShares and purchase Ezira on the BitShares trading pair. It's up to you which coin you want to use, and depending on market conditions, either one or the other will be the most cost effective at the time. So, to all the users that are new to BitShares, all you need to do to find the Ezira asset trading pair is go to the Find Markets button, and that is in the top right corner. And from there, you can simply type in Ezira, and that's EZIRA for BitUSD, and press that, and then you'll go to the trading pair. Then to create an order, all you do is go to the Buy Ezira button here and put in $1, 1 BitUSD per Ezira, and then say 100 Ezira, and then you can press the Buy button, and that'll go through, and then simply put in your BitShares password and confirm the transaction. And there we go. Now at the moment, the Ezira price for newly issued Ezira is 1 BitUSD per Ezira, but the current trading price, the price that it is bought up at, is currently about 67 cents. So that's some people who are selling it at a completely fair market price. It will take some time before those orders are bought up, but if you would like to get your Ezira in at below $1 per Ezira, you can go to the BitShares page and buy some right now for 67 cents. No new Ezira will be issued until that price reaches $1, 1 BitUSD per Ezira. So that's the crowdfunding guide, and we will move back into this week's agenda. So next up is this week's featured application. Does anyone have any questions about the crowdfunding campaign? We have Emeka Collins, and he says, can I use Steam-backed dollars to join the crowdfunding campaign? To Emeka Collins, yes you can. All you need to do is deposit the Steam-backed dollars onto the BitShares exchange and then sell the Steam-backed dollars for BitShares. You can then use those BitShares to buy Ezira from the Ezira to BitShares trading pair. So if you go to the BitShares base pair section, you can type in Ezira under Find Markets, and there you can purchase the Ezira asset from the BitShares decentralized exchange. And to Jotmax, he said 1 Ezira on the Ezira chain will be equivalent to 1 Ezira on the BitShares chain. That's exactly right. So every holder of the Ezira asset on the BitShares chain will receive 1 Ezira on the Ezira mainnet chain allocated to their initial account on launch. And we'll move on to the next part of today's Hangout, and that is the featured application. So this week's featured application is something that I personally discussed with Dr. Craig Wright a couple of days ago at the CoinGeek conference after party. He and I were having an interesting discussion about how it'll never really be possible to eliminate banks from the financial system, but we'll be able to get pretty close. Unfortunately, there is one thing that we will need banks or something like them to do, and that is to act as credit service providers. So Ezira will provide a mechanism for banking institutions today to take a much more reasonable place in the cryptocurrency financial system, because they do fill a need for an intermediary of credit, and I'll explain why. Ezira businesses can be established to act as credit service providers. These business accounts would hold a large portfolio of Ezira dollars for lending on the peer-to-peer marketplace. So there'll be a peer-to-peer lending exchange where users can create lending and credit orders to either borrow or lend any currency at a specified interest rate and repayable over a period of time that's nominated by the creator of the transaction. That order will then be able to be filled by the person on the other side of the order upon their acceptance of the terms of the loan and upon the acceptance of the credit worthiness of the person who is borrowing. So people will be able to borrow and lend money on the Ezira decentralized exchange via the lending marketplace, and they will be either earning or paying an interest rate and making regular repayments against the principal of the loan. What a credit service provider will do is offer diversification for lenders. So lenders to the peer-to-peer credit marketplace will lend to credit service providers to have a good interest rate return without needing to manage default risk or customer offer selection themselves. By lending to an established Ezira business, they can minimize the risk of default. Default risk is absorbed by credit service providers, which allow for ease of use and financial security. The credit service provider lends to a diverse portfolio of borrowers with lent funds. This is a model that provides a viable use case for a bank-like institution on Ezira. So the banks we have today would be nothing like these credit service providers on Ezira. So banks today create fractional reserve lending deposits by essentially adding entries to their balance sheet in order to lend themselves and their creditors money by creating a credit and a debit entry such that there is a 10% reserve rate held by the banks. So for every $1 on deposit with the bank, they can actually create credit against $10 in their own databases of people's account balances with a bank. So this expands the money supply, and it issues a massive amount of interest revenue to banks on deposits that they don't actually own. So they lend money into existence that only exists on their balance sheet. So that's what banks do today, and they make, in many cases, risky bets or trading positions with derivatives and things like that against customer deposits. So on Ezira, there will be complete on-chain transparency of the deposits and withdrawals, and all of the trading orders made by these credit service providers. They would have a 100% reserve rate on deposits by design because they cannot lend money that they do not have. So they will act as an intermediary and an aggregator of trust for inherently trust-based functions of lending. This gives them no ability to undergo fractional reserve lending and delivers a better interest rate for deposits than the current financial system. So there will be a place for Ezira businesses to borrow money at a low interest rate and then re-lend it at a high interest rate to borrowers with credit ratings that aren't as viable as others on the marketplace, and to be able to borrow at a lower interest rate because of the lower perceived risk of default by lenders on the marketplace. So conservative lenders will be able to lend to someone else, a credit service provider, to act as an intermediary between them and all of the many customers that they might be lending money to. So it's not feasible for an average user to be able to pick and choose which other Ezira users are creditworthy and which ones aren't. So they can outsource that work, that market service, to a credit service provider that will do that research on their behalf and accept the risk of deposit default or defaulting on the loan on their behalf by charging a difference between the interest rates that is greater than the default risk that they have. So that's credit service providers on the Ezira blockchain, and those will be essentially far better than existing banks because they'll have free, almost instant transactions, and they won't need to charge any sort of account fees or anything like that. They'll be earning an arbitrage on the interest rate between their borrowers and their lenders. So that's this week's featured application. And next up, we'll go into general discussion. Before that, we'll have an outline of the share drop. So the share drop has been changed a little bit, as was discussed earlier. Ezira is share dropping on 10 different cryptocurrencies. All holders of balances in several coins will receive a small amount of Ezira upon mainnet launch over time. This can be used to vote for posts and witnesses and many other things, and earn Ezira coin dividends for use on the platform, or Ezira rewards rather. Users can import their existing Steam and BitShares accounts as Ezira Persona accounts. Existing wallet private keys will be imported into the Ezira open source client-side wallet to allow access to those accounts as imported on the Ezira blockchain. Share drops to Steam and BitShares will be included as balances when they are over $1, when each account on either Steam or BitShares holds over $1 worth of each coin. Other currencies will be allocated share drops over a period of 50 weeks, as 2% of the share drop amount is distributed between holders of the gateway assets on the DEX and registered addresses by signing a transaction that can be completely off Ezira software. Only this signed transaction is needed to prove ownership of that particular address, and then its balance can be determined by reading the blockchain, that native blockchain. The Ezira node client will offer wallets for transactions with all 10 supported share drop coins. This will allow users to import their wallets into Ezira and use them on a light wallet client. Share drop coins include BitShares, Steam, Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, EOS, Ethereum, Ethereum Classic, Dash, Monero, and Litecoin. And we'll move on to the general discussion. So now we'll have any questions and answers about any subject regarding the Ezira blockchain and the Ezira project. You can email Harrison at harrison@ezira.io for any other queries, team role applications, proposals, or business matters. And you can join over 10,000 people in the Ezira Telegram channel at www.t.me/Ezira Network. And the Ezira auction for this week will be closing 1 hour after this hangout. So several bids have been made recently, and we'll just take a look over those bids now. So some of the recently received bids have been from Josh Elior 18 with 50 BitShares. Thank you, Josh Elior. We have Mr. Rulke with 110 BitShares. Thank you, Mr. Rulke. We have Sneg with 53 BitShares. Thank you, Sneg. And we have BitShares Xiaolang with 500 BitShares. We have Historia Fitness with 49 BitUSD. Thank you, Historia Fitness. We have Shaban 96 with 80 BitShares. We have Mohit 96 with 100 BitShares. Sokia For Real with 25 BitShares. And we have Emeka Collins 2018 with 300 BitShares. Thank you, everyone. So the Ezira weekly auction this week will be distributing 5,000 Ezira between all of the bidders to the Ezira account on BitShares. So this happens every week, 1 hour after the Ezira Hangout. So if you want to get a piece of the Ezira asset, you can send your bids to the Ezira account by sending either BitShares or BitUSD to Ezira, that's EZIRA, on BitShares. and the auction will be open for 1 hour after the hangout. And then it'll be closing for this week and distributing 5,000 Ezira to all of the bidders. So we'll head back to the general discussion. So does anyone in the hangout at this point have any questions about the Ezira project or anything else? We have Jot Max asking, those holding Ezira on BitShares will there be a share drop for them? Yes, that's correct. There will be. Anyone who holds over a certain amount of Ezira will actually receive a significantly larger share drop, because anyone who holds over 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000 Ezira is a recognized silver, gold, platinum, or diamond Ezira on the Ezira mainnet chain, and they'll be receiving a 25, 50, 75, and 100% respectively bonuses to all other share drop allocations from their other registered addresses. And we have Mariana 4VE, and she says, hello Harrison and good morning everyone. I understand that to have an account in Ezira, you have to pay for a membership. Have you guys considered giving a trial of 3 months? This gives users a time to pay for membership with their first winnings. Okay, so that is not quite correct. To have an account in Ezira, you don't have to pay for a membership. Everyone will be receiving an account membership for 6 months when they satisfy the holding requirement of 10, 100, 1,000 or 10,000 Ezira. So everyone will be receiving a 6-month free membership when they hold over a certain amount of Ezira on their BitShares account. So there will be no charge to actually have an Ezira account. Having an Ezira account will be 100% free. 100% free to everyone in the world. You will not have to pay to create an Ezira account. What you can do is you can pay to have it activated as a membership, and you'll get account benefits. And we can go over some of the account benefits if you guys would like. Does anyone want to hear some of the account benefits? For membership, that is. We have D156 asking, when will the Ezira going to launch? So at this time, the Ezira testnet release is scheduled for approximately 6 to 9 months from the completion of the Ezira preliminary ICO. In all likelihood, it will be faster than that. That is a conservative projection. If the Ezira project is funded faster than that, the testnet release could be done in under 6 months, fairly reasonably. The scope of the testnet is to be a minimum viable product to demonstrate that the Ezira project has a working product that can deliver a valuable service to its users. And at the moment, we are in the process of acquiring over $1 million in funding from Blockchain Frontier. That deal is not finalized yet. It is still in discussion, but that is to be delivering a significant funding amount to the Ezira project in the next 2 weeks. So that will be likely buying up a significant portion of the Ezira asset on the DEX. And if you guys would like to get in before them, you'll be able to get some at 67 cents before they buy it all up. So the offer is out there to the Ezira community. Thank you everyone for tuning in. Thank you everyone for being here to support the project in its early stages. You're all here. That shows that you're all very interested in what the Ezira project has to offer. And it's important to remember that Ezira is a community project first and foremost. So it's up to all of us to work together to help bring the network to everybody on Earth. So Ezira has the ability to allow everyone on Earth to use powerful cryptocurrency features and access permissionless innovation and access a financial system that is leagues and bounds better than the existing financial system that we've been born into. It will allow us to move beyond the world of fiat currency, move beyond the world of centralized corporate social media, move beyond the world of centralized custodial exchanges that make massive trading fees, that make massive listing fees in particular, and in general extort cryptocurrency projects in order to get their coins traded. We can move beyond centralized exchanges. We can move beyond centralized product marketplaces like Amazon and eBay that charge on the order of 15 or something percent, or between 8 and 15% on product sales, and take all of the data involved in those product sales, and in the case of Amazon, use the data of products to actually undercut those products and make generic versions to essentially steal the market of the very vendors that allow Amazon to operate. So because every trade will use encrypted information, those trades will be private and they will not be able to be mined for data. Users' profiles will not be able to be mined for data for advertising. Only public on-chain information will be used for targeting advertising that users put onto the blockchain themselves. It will not be using any private information to target advertising, the likes of which is used by Facebook and Twitter. And the centralized control over that information is essentially the business model of established social media. They vacuum up all of the data, they keep it for themselves, and then they sell access to it, not sell the data. They don't sell the data directly. They sell access to the data in the form of advertising and marketing by allowing people to pinpoint target advertising campaigns to people with specific views, specific locations, and specific private information and private interests that advertisers, to be quite frank, shouldn't have access to, especially when it's en masse and as granular as it is today, because it allows for the mass manipulation of civilization in a way that has never been possible before in the history of the human race. We're living in a time when social media has a more fine-tuned control over the collective psyche of humanity than any totalitarian government in the entire history of the world. So Ezira can help us to move forward beyond centralized social media, beyond the listing fees of centralized exchanges, beyond centralized product marketplaces that depend on PayPal and credit cards and banks for product payments and take fees after fees after fees. Ezira brings that down to 1%, and half of that is paid to all the holders of Ezira and Ezira coin. So Ezira is the protocol that brings together social media, decentralized exchange, and peer-to-peer marketplace to enable everyone in the entire world to share information and value freely, despite where they are, where they're born, how much money they have, how much money they need, how much money they want to borrow. It's important to recognize that people who live on credit, people who need to borrow in order to survive, they won't be able to survive in the cryptocurrency economy that we have today, because everyone in cryptocurrency today has to have a positive balance. There's no room for a negative balance in cryptocurrency. There's no room for lending. There's no function of credit in the cryptocurrency economy. And unfortunately, some people live their lives with a negative balance. They live on credit because it's all they have. So Ezira enables people to borrow funds from each other at interest and enable a fully functional credit-enabled economy to operate. And if anyone has any more questions, I'll be able to answer any and all of those. In that case, we'll finish up today's hangout. a little bit earlier than usual. But I'd like to thank.
Mm,
Do you have a question, Samest?
yeah, listen. I would love you to review the bounty for Telegram that you mentioned earlier for the benefit of those that are just coming in, so that we'll be on the same page.
So you'd like to go over the new bounty structure, is that right?
Yeah, that's what
Yep.
I'm trying to
Okay.
say.
So, the new bounty structure is anyone in the Azira Telegram can describe their favorite Azira application or an idea for a new Azira application in 50 words or less and leave their BitShares address. Then once per day, every day, one entry that gives the best answer will be selected to win 20 Azira. That's every day. So it actually allows people to uh, earn an ongoing amount of Azira that is uncapped per person of 20 Azira per day when they make uh, essentially messages to the Azira Telegram describing in 50 words or less their favorite application and why. So I'll make another post in the Azira Telegram and I'll put that in the pinned message so that people can see the new bounty that is moving Azira from a model of grow, 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 get more people in the Telegram. There was a lot of spam in the Telegram, so we're moving to a model that is a little bit more articulated and allows people to have a much more interesting discussion in the Telegram channel rather than just bringing in a whole lot of people who may or may not be interested in the channel itself. So this gives a better opportunity for people who are interested in Azira and willing to articulate their thoughts about an application to earn some Azira instead of just shoveling all the Azira to people who are inviting 50 people, 50 random names into the Telegram channel. So in the last couple of days, there have been a bit of a decline in the numbers of Telegram users, and that is because a lot of people were not added to the Telegram with their permission, and they have since chosen to leave, and that is okay. So what we're doing is instead of incentivizing people to invite people who aren't willing to discuss the project in the channel, we'll instead be rewarding those who are willing to contribute to the discussion in the Zero Telegram channel. So to summarize what I was saying, uh, people describe their favorite application on the Azira blockchain and why in the Azira Telegram, and one entry per day wins 20 Azira. Does that answer your question, Samest?
Yeah, thank you,
Very good, very
thank
good.
you.
And does anyone have any further questions for today? Okay, if no one has any more questions, I think we'll close up this week's Ezira Hangout number 8 for this week. So thank you to everyone for joining in. Thank you to everyone for your very interesting questions. And you can still contribute to the Ezira weekly auction by sending BitShares or BitUSD to the Ezira address on BitShares in order to get your allocation in 5,000 Ezira that will be distributed 1 hour after this hangout. So this week there have been major changes to the structure of the Azira reward to ensure that active users are able to gain the most, and people who aren't as active are not able to claim the reward, which in turn distributes more to those who are active. It also enables people who hold a significant stake in the Azira asset to earn more Azira coin rewards when they act as super nodes. It also enables everyone to earn a higher return on their share drop balance when they register their account early, and it doesn't require the other blockchains to import their private keys into an Azira wallet, which they may not be willing to trust initially. So it allows them to do a transaction on another wallet that they do trust in order to claim ownership over the address that they are putting into the Azira blockchain. So that pretty much wraps up this week's Ezira Hangout, and I'd like to thank everyone, each and every one of you, for joining us this week in the Discord, on YouTube. I'd like to thank all of the bidders to the Ezira auction. I'd like to thank all of the holders of Ezira, all of our Diamond Ezirans, so Dow Street, Meta, BitShares 2010. I'd like to thank everyone who's been an ongoing supporter of the Ezira project from the very start. We're about to see some significant growth in the institutional willingness to fund this project that I myself have overseen in terms of meetings with people in Melbourne-based blockchain funding companies. And I'm sure in the next 1 to 2 weeks there will be some very, very interesting news about these companies that are bringing in a significant amount of funding to the project. We may need to raise the Ezira preliminary ICO funding cap to $2 million to enable all of the money that wants to come in to actually come in at a reasonable price that would be more able to accommodate the money, so to say. So there is significant interest to bring in funds to the preliminary ICO campaign. And many of you guys have been contributing to the auction for many weeks now, and I thank each and every one of you for your ongoing support of the project. I'm here in Hong Kong to speak to the Bitcoin Cash community about the Ezira project and what we aim to do, and I heard nothing but positive responses from many of the higher-ups in the Bitcoin Cash community, particularly Omri Sachet. Was very interested to hear that the Ezira project would be combining delegated proof of stake with proof of work. He's a fantastic man, Omri Sachet, lead developer of Bitcoin ABC. Big inspiration to myself and the Ezira project, making clear the need for proof of work in order to prevent chain rewrites, but also understanding that delegated proof of stake allows for a real-time access frame or a real-time access window in the terms of 3-second blocks that is necessary for decentralized social media and decentralized exchange. So that'll pretty much finish up the Ezira Hangout this week. Ezira Hangout number 8. Thank you all for coming, and together we will build the next world. Thank you everyone, and good night.